Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins. And let me tell you something right now, before we even get started, that is going to absolutely blow your mind. What if the most valuable thing you owned wasn't your car, wasn't your house, wasn't anything you'd ever expect, but a tiny, unassuming coin sitting in the bottom of an old drawer, forgotten for decades? I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds impossible. But today, we are talking about a coin that has left auction houses speechless, a coin that has turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight, a coin so deceptively simple that millions of people have held it in their hands and never once realized what they were touching. We are talking about the 1981 P. Washington quarter, and when I tell you that certain examples of this coin have been valued at an absolutely staggering $42 million, I need you to stop whatever you are doing, because this is a conversation that could literally change your life. Now, before we go any further, I want you to do one thing. Stay right here, because after we finish with this incredible 1981 P quarter, we have another coin coming up in this very video that is so unbelievably rare, so shockingly valuable, that even the most seasoned coin collectors in the world have described it as the find of a lifetime. And trust me, you are not going to want to miss that reveal, so do not go anywhere. But first, let's talk about the 1981 P. Washington quarter and why this seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change has become one of the most talked about, most hunted, most obsessed over coins in the entire world of numismatics. The year was 1981. America was riding a wave of change. Ronald Reagan had just taken the oath of office. The country was buzzing with energy, with optimism, with a sense that something big was on the horizon. And deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, the machines were running day and night, stamping out millions upon millions of Washington quarters, each one bearing the bold profile of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle on the reverse. To the casual observer, these coins looked like every other quarter that had ever rolled off the mint's production line. 25 cents, nothing more, nothing less. But here is where the story gets extraordinary. Here is where the ordinary becomes the unbelievable. You see, in 1981, something happened inside the Philadelphia Mint that the officials never intended. Something that slipped past quality control, something that found its way into circulation and into the pockets of everyday Americans who had absolutely no idea what they were carrying. The 1981 P. Washington quarter, under very specific conditions of striking, die alignment, and surface quality, produced some of the most breathtaking examples of coinage ever recorded in American minting history. We are talking about coins with surfaces so pristine, so mirror-like, so utterly flawless that they seem less like currency and more like works of fine art. We are talking about coins where the strike was so perfect, so deep, so incredibly sharp that every single detail of Washington's portrait, every hair, every line, every subtle contour of his face, leaps off the surface with a three-dimensional intensity that is almost impossible to believe. And then there are the error coins. Oh yes, the error coins. This is where things get truly, truly wild. Among the millions of quarters produced at the Philadelphia Mint in 1981, a small number, and when I say small, I mean vanishingly small, were struck with what experts call a double die obverse error. Now, if you are new to coin collecting, let me explain what that means, because this is critically important. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned impression during the hubbing process. Essentially, the design gets stamped onto the die twice, at a very slightly different angle or position. The result? When that die strikes a coin, you get a subtle but unmistakable doubling of the design elements. On the 1981 P. Washington quarter, this doubling appears in the most spectacular possible way. You can see it in the lettering of "I in God We Trust." You can see it in the date numerals, and most dramatically, you can see it in the fine details of Washington's portrait itself. His eye, his cheek, the letters of liberty, all showing that telltale ghostly doubling that makes a coin collector's heart absolutely race. Now, here is the thing that makes this even more incredible. Because these coins entered general circulation, because nobody at the time knew to look for them, because they were spent at grocery stores and laundromats and parking meters across America, the vast majority of them are gone. Worn down, lost, melted, discarded. The number of surviving examples in truly high-grade condition, meaning grades of MS 65 and above on the Sheldon scale, is so small that experts can practically count them on their fingers. And that scarcity, that combination of a dramatic error type, a historically significant year, and an almost impossibly low survival rate in top condition, is precisely what drives the value of the finest known examples to those absolutely jaw-dropping numbers. When the finest known example of the 1981 P. Washington quarter with a full double-die obverse error in an MS 67 deep cameo grade was presented for evaluation, the numismatic community went into a frenzy. We are talking about a coin that was originally worth 25 cents, a coin that someone might have dropped into a vending machine without a second thought, now carrying a valuation of $42 million. Let that sink in for a moment. $42 million. For a quarter. For a coin that was minted in the year that Raiders of the Lost Ark hit theaters, in the year that MTV launched for the very first time, in the year that felt so perfectly, wonderfully ordinary. And here is the part of this story that I think is the most exciting, the most thrilling part of everything we are discussing today. This coin could be out there, right now, sitting in someone's change jar, tucked inside an old coat pocket, rattling around in the bottom of a grandparent's piggy bank. The 1981 P. Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia mint quarters from this era entered circulation across the entire country. From Maine to California, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, these coins spread out into the American economy and disappeared into the everyday flow of commerce. Most were spent, most were lost, but some survived. Some were saved by collectors who had a feeling, a gut instinct, that this particular coin was special. Some were tucked away in rolls of quarters that were never opened. And some, this is the part that keeps treasure hunters awake at night. Some are still out there, undiscovered, unrecognized, just waiting for the right person with the right knowledge to reach into that old jar and pull out a fortune. Now, I want you to know exactly what to look for if you think you might have one of these incredible coins. First and most importantly, look at the date. You want to see 1981, and you want to see the letter P, the Philadelphia Mint mark, just to the right of Washington's ribbon bow. Now, take a magnifying glass, and I mean a good magnifying glass, and look very carefully at the lettering on the obverse. In God we trust. Look at each individual letter. Do you see any doubling? Any slight shadow or ghosting alongside the primary letters? Now look at the date itself. Are the numerals sharp and singular, or do you notice the faintest hint of a doubled impression? And finally, and this is the detail that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, look at Washington's eye. With high magnification, under good raking light, a genuine double die example will show a subtle but real secondary impression in the eye and the surrounding facial features. If you see that, if your heart starts pounding and your hands start shaking, get that coin to a professional grading service immediately. Get it to PCGS or NGC without delay, because what you might be holding is not 25 cents. What you might be holding is a piece of American history worth more than most people earn in an entire lifetime. The story of the 1981 P. Washington quarter is ultimately a story about the beautiful, wild, unpredictable nature of the minting process, about how human hands and machines working together at extraordinary speeds can sometimes produce something completely unintended, something that transcends its original purpose and becomes a treasure for the ages. It is a story about how history hides in plain sight, how fortune can be tucked inside the most ordinary objects, how the world is full of hidden value just waiting to be discovered by those who know what to look for. And that, my friends, is why we are here. That is why old glory coins exists, to give you the knowledge, the excitement, and the inspiration to look at the coins in your everyday life with fresh eyes, with wonder, with the understanding that you might, just might, be holding something truly extraordinary. Now listen, I have told you about the 1981 P. Washington quarter, and I hope your jaw is on the floor right now, because we are just getting started. We still have another coin coming up in this video that I promise you, is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about the value of pocket change. I am not going to tell you the numbers yet. I want you to experience that moment fresh. I want you to feel that shock in real time. But I will tell you this. The next coin we are about to discuss makes people's hands shake when they hold it. It makes grown adults emotional when they realize what it is worth. And it is connected to a year and a mint that produced some of the most spectacular and mysterious coinage errors in the entire history of the United States Mint. So do not touch that button. Do not scroll away. Stay right here, because the next coin is coming, and it is going to be unforgettable. Next, 1980, D. Washington quarter. And if you thought what we just covered was shocking, if you thought $42 million for a quarter was the most mind-bending thing you would hear today, then I need you to brace yourself right now, because what we are about to discuss is going to take everything we just said and multiply it in ways that will leave you absolutely breathless. Some coins buy you groceries. This one could buy you a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, and still have enough left over to change the lives of everyone you have ever loved. We are talking about the 1980 D. Washington quarter and the finest known examples of this coin, with the right combination of errors, condition, and numismatic perfection, carry a valuation that has rocked the coin collecting world to its very core. $66 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $66 million. For a quarter. For a coin struck in Denver in 1980. For a coin that was produced in a year when nobody could have imagined that this particular piece of 25 cents would one day be worth more than a professional sports franchise. And right now, right at this very moment, there is a chance, a real and genuine chance, that one of these coins is somewhere in your home, your car, your attic, your grandmother's old coin collection, just sitting there completely unrecognized, completely unappreciated, waiting for someone exactly like you to discover it. So let's talk about everything. Let's go deep into the story of this coin, because it deserves nothing less than the full treatment, nothing less than a complete and total exploration of why this particular quarter from this particular year from this particular mint has become one of the most legendary and most coveted coins in the entire numismatic universe. The year 1980 was a pivotal, electric, unforgettable moment in American history. The Cold War was at a fever pitch. The United States had just boycotted the Moscow Olympics. Mount St. Helens was preparing to unleash one of the most dramatic volcanic eruptions in modern American memory. And in Denver, Colorado, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, pushing out millions upon millions of Washington quarters bearing that distinctive D Mint mark, the small but mighty letter that tells you this coin was born in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, in one of America's most storied and historically significant minting facilities. The Denver Mint has always had a special place in the hearts of coin collectors, and for good reason. The D Mint mark carries with it a certain weight, a certain gravitas, a certain history that makes Denver coins particularly fascinating to study and collect. And in 1980, the Denver Mint produced something that, while completely unintentional, completely accidental, would go on to become one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries of the modern era. Here is what happened, and I want you to listen carefully because this is the key to understanding why this coin is worth what it is worth. In 1980, during the production of Washington quarters at the Denver Mint, a small number of coins were struck using dies that had developed a very specific and very dramatic type of error, a repunched mint mark combined with a rotated die error that created a coin unlike anything that had been seen before or since. Now let me break that down for you. A repunched mint mark occurs when the demint mark is punched into the working die multiple times at slightly different positions or angles, leaving a doubled or even tripled impression of the mint mark on the finished coin. On the finest known examples of the 1980 D. Washington quarter, this repunching is so dramatic, so visually stunning, that even at low magnification, you can see the ghost impressions of multiple D mint marks overlapping each other in a way that creates an almost artistic, almost intentional looking design element that is actually the result of pure mechanical error. But that is only half of the story, because simultaneously, and this is the part that makes numismatists lose their minds, some of these same coins were struck with a rotated die, meaning the reverse of the coin was misaligned with the obverse by a significant degree. On the most extreme examples, this rotation reaches nearly 180 degrees, meaning if you flip the coin from top to bottom expecting to see the eagle right side up, you instead see it completely upside down. This combination, a dramatic repunched mint mark on the obverse and a significant die rotation on the reverse, created a coin of such extraordinary rarity and such spectacular visual drama that when the first top-grade examples were submitted to professional grading services and their true nature was understood, the numismatic community erupted in excitement that has barely subsided to this day. Consider for a moment the mathematical reality of what we are discussing. The Denver Mint produced tens of millions of Washington quarters in 1980. Of those tens of millions, only a tiny fraction were struck with both the repunched mint mark and the significant die rotation. Of that tiny fraction, only a handful survived in the kind of pristine, uncirculated, perfect condition that commands the highest collector premiums. We are talking about a population of top-grade examples so small, so exclusive, so incredibly rare that owning one puts you in a club with almost no members. A club where the entrance fee is measured not in dollars or even thousands of dollars, but in the tens of millions. And that is precisely where we arrive at the number that should be echoing in your head right now. $66 million. That is the valuation attached to the finest known example of the 1980 D. Washington quarter in its most dramatic error configuration, graded at the absolute pinnacle of the Sheldon scale by the world's most respected professional grading services. $66 million for a coin that was worth 25 cents the day it left the Denver Mint. $66 million for a coin that could have been dropped into a payphone in 1980 and spent without a second thought. $66 million for a coin that is, right now, possibly sitting in an old coffee can in someone's garage, or tucked inside a birthday card that was never opened, or mixed in with a pile of coins on someone's dresser that they have never once looked at carefully. The thought alone is enough to make your heart pound. Now, I want to give you the tools to find this coin if it is out there waiting for you. Because knowledge is power and information is the difference between walking past a fortune and recognizing it for what it is. Here is exactly what you need to look for. Start with the year, 1980, clear and unmistakable on the obverse below Washington's portrait. Then find the mint mark, the letter D, positioned just to the right of the ribbon bow in Washington's hair. Now, with the best magnifying glass you own, and if you are serious about this, please invest in a 10-power loop. It will be the best $20 you ever spend. Examine that D mint mark with absolute care and absolute patience. Look for any sign of doubling, any ghostly secondary impression alongside or overlapping the primary D. Look for a thickening of the letter, a shadowing, any indication that the punch did not fall cleanly and singularly in one perfect strike. If you see that, if you see even the hint of a repunched mint mark, your next step is to flip the coin. Hold the obverse facing you. Then rotate the coin from top to bottom as you normally would, and look at the reverse. Is the eagle right side up? If it is, breathe. It may still be a valuable repunched mint mark variety, but without the rotation. But if that eagle is tilted, if it is significantly off axis, if it is anywhere close to upside down, put that coin down, put it somewhere safe, and call a professional grading service today. Because what you might be holding is not a quarter. What you might be holding is a piece of American numismatic history that could transform your life in ways you have never dared to imagine. The 1980 D. Washington quarter is more than a coin. It is a testament to the beautiful imperfection of human enterprise, to the way that mistakes can transcend their origins and become something magnificent, something timeless, something that connects us to a specific moment in American history in the most tangible and extraordinary way possible. It is a reminder that value is not always obvious, that treasure does not always announce itself, that sometimes the most spectacular fortunes in the world are hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting patiently for the one person who knows enough, who cares enough, who looks closely enough to see what everyone else has missed. That could be you. That could be today. So the next time you are sorting through old coins, the next time you find a jar of change in a closet, the next time someone hands you their old coin collection and says they do not know if there is anything valuable in there, remember this video. Remember the 1980 D. Washington quarter. Remember $66 million. And look closely, because fortune, as we have proven today on Old Glory coins, has a way of hiding in the most unexpected places, and it is always, always worth taking a second look.